The wealthiest man in the city has passed away. At his funeral, none of his relatives displayed any sadness on their faces. Instead, they seemed almost joyful, as if they had won the lottery. As soon as the funeral ended, the family hastily convened a meeting. Each member was eager to know how much of the inheritance they would receive. To everyone's surprise, they were only given a sum of money sufficient for their daily expenses, while the bulk of the fortune was left in the hands of lawyers and the company management. Upon hearing this news, the crowd left in anger, except for the grandson, Jason, who remained indifferent. He knew he would not inherit anything. He held deep resentment towards his wealthy grandfather since he was a child because there were rumors that his grandfather had caused the death of his father, leading to a strained relationship between the two. Just as Jason was about to leave, the lawyer called him aside. Pointing to a special box, he revealed that it contained a unique inheritance left by Jason's grandfather. Reluctantly, Jason opened the box to find numerous videotapes of his grandfather's recordings. Initially impatient, Jason sat down to watch the tapes at the lawyer's insistence. In the recordings, the grandfather explained that if Jason was watching them, it meant he had passed away. He acknowledged his mishandling of family relationships, resulting in the current state of emotional detachment. Feeling that Jason had been most deeply hurt, he offered him a compensation in the form of a special gift. However, to receive the gift, Jason had to undergo 12 challenges. Abandoning the challenges midway would result in losing everything he currently possessed. The lawyer would oversee and enforce the entire challenge process. Subsequently, the lawyer handed Jason a ticket to Houston. Boarding the plane at 7 a.m. the next day marked the beginning of the challenge. Due to his resentment towards his grandfather, Jason refused this offer. Upon returning home, Jason complained to his girlfriend about the situation. Intrigued, she encouraged him to take on the challenges, suggesting that if he truly resented his grandfather, why not take all the money as revenge? Convinced by her logic, the next day, he boarded the plane with the ticket given to him by the lawyer. He sat in the first-class cabin as usual, but soon the flight crew came and reminded him that his ticket was for a discounted economy class seat and that he couldn't be upgraded. And so, Jason, who had only ever flown first class, experienced the economy cabin for the first time. And this was not part of the 12 challenges. His first challenge was just beginning. An old man arrived at the airport to pick him up, introducing himself as Gus, who was a close friend of his grandfather. Then he took Jason to his farm. Upon arrival, Jason immediately asked Gus for the gift. Gus didn't say anything and just simply told him to wake up at 5 a.m. the next morning for breakfast. Jason had never seen the sun before noon, not even mention waking up at 5 a.m. However, Gus had a special way of waking him up. Despite the early hour, Gus took him to work. Jason's task was simple: to drive stakes into the ground, earning $1 for each stake, a task through which his grandfather had earned his first fortune. When Gus left, Jason would lie down on the wooden stakes and fall asleep. Upon waking up, he would wander around aimlessly, not paying much attention to the job or Gus's words. However, being brought to the same place every day was quite boring for him. Jason reluctantly started working on the wooden stakes to pass the test, but he was only doing it to get through the task. The stakes ended up all crooked and misplaced, and without a word, Gus dismantled them all. Jason had no choice but to start over from scratch. This time, he began to measure meticulously, working from morning till night. When he reached the end, the stakes he had driven seemed endless. Finally, Gus picked up Jason one day and told him that no matter what Jason wanted to do in the future, if he showed the same perseverance as he did with the stakes, he could succeed at anything. However, Jason didn't care about these words. He only cared about the gift that promised. However, Gus just laughed it off, leaving Jason feeling played. Upon his return, Jason immediately questioned the lawyer, who informed him that the job itself was the first gift. After a month of hard labor, being told that the job was the gift was infuriating for Jason. He left and quit the tests immediately. The lawyer didn't stop him. However, when Jason got back home, he found his mansion empty. Even his luxury car had been stolen after he parked it. During dinner with his girlfriend that night, his card was frozen, and he had to awkwardly ask his girlfriend to cover the bill. She couldn't believe Jason was asking her to pay and left in tears. And just like that, with nothing left, he lost his girlfriend too. Out on the streets, he tried to borrow money from his friends, but as soon as they heard he needed money, they hung up on him. Frustrated, Jason smashed his phone, leaving him with no choice but to return to the lawyer for further testing. His grandfather had foreseen that this loss of wealth would cost him all his so-called friends. So he wanted Jason to find a true friend in this test. Jason sat on the bench in the park, feeling helpless. There were plenty of empty seats nearby, yet a homeless man approached and insisted that Jason leave, saying this was his bench. Jason argued that the homeless man couldn't prove it was his bench. Unable to resolve their dispute, they eventually decided to flip a coin to determine who had the right to sit on the bench. To their dismay, they both discovered they had no money in their pockets. A young girl who had been observing them for a while then took out her own coin, offering it to settle the matter. Jason promptly tossed the coin into the air, but the homeless man swiftly caught it and fled the scene. Emily and Jason were both stunned, but there were more urgent problems at hand. As the deadline approached, he still hadn't found a friend, and his girlfriend had already moved on to someone else. This left him feeling both resentful and helpless. One day, Jason woke up on the park bench to find the homeless man attempting to rob food from others. With a shout, Jason scared the man away, and then he realized that the homeless man's target was the young girl and her mother. Gratefully, they invited Jason to join them for a picnic. Upon hearing of Jason's situation, Emily decided to help him. Jason then took Emily to meet the lawyer, who instructed Jason not to speak and asked Emily if they had reached any agreements. The mischievous Emily replied, "Does he look like he has anything to offer?" and boldly declared in front of the lawyer that she would be Jason's good friend for life. With this, Jason completed the second test. The lawyer then handed Jason a letter, which he hoped contained his inheritance. However, upon opening it, Jason found only $1,500, the exact amount he had earned through labor on the farm. Despite his frustration, Jason had no choice but to continue accepting the tests. The third test was for Jason to use the money he just received to help someone who truly needs it. Jason immediately found the homeless man and wanted to take out $100 to give to him. Unexpectedly, the homeless man ran off upon seeing him, leaving behind a bag, which turned out to be Emily's mother's bag. The bag contained no money, only numerous hospital bills. Following the bills, Jason arrived at the hospital, where he first noticed a wig and Emily lying in a hospital bed. Jason quietly left the bag and couldn't believe that Emily was terminally ill. He decided to use the money to help Emily's family pay off their rent, but was informed that Emily's family owed $1,600, while he only had $1,500. With no other option, Jason had to gather the remaining $100 by working odd jobs and other means. He then poured the pile of coins and bills he earned in front of the lawyer. Now, he had completed the third test and was eager to finish all the tasks to get the money to help Emily. The fourth test was for Jason to experience family love. His grandfather asked Jason to bring someone important to him home for Thanksgiving. Jason immediately found Emily and invited her, but the young girl was facing death. Before her, there stood God, yet death's footsteps were so close to her. In the quiet church, Jason gave Emily a hug. Emily's biggest worry now was her mother. She hoped Jason would take care of her mother after she passed away. Unable to bear seeing Emily cry, at Emily's request, Jason took Emily's mother to the banquet. Despite the lavish dinner, the family members were all fighting over the inheritance. Upon learning that Jason was undergoing a greater test of inheritance, the family members opposed it, threatening to sue Jason if he received more than them in the end. Jason now realized why his grandfather arranged for him to attend the Thanksgiving dinner. He wanted him to see that family relationships based solely on money were fragile and vulnerable. Only families like Emily and her mother, who were inseparable, truly thrived. Jason found the lawyer again, ready to face the next test. However, when he heard the location, his face changed, and he refused to accept it. It was the very place where his father had tragically passed away. But his grandfather wanted Jason to understand that only by overcoming his fears could his future path be smoother. With no other choice, Jason arrived at this isolated little village where his grandfather had once donated a library. The challenge this time was for him to act as the librarian for a period of time. The local people treated Jason warmly, hosting a grand party and serving him the best food. All they did was to thank his grandfather's donation of the library to them. The library, which was broken and small in Jason's eyes, was the hope for the children here to step out of the village. Only knowledge could help them change their destinies and break free from poverty. While working in the library, one day a local guide took him to the site of a plane wreckage in the wilderness, where his father's plane had crashed. The guide told him that it wasn't his grandfather who had murdered his father, but rather his father, in a moment of impulse, had tried to escape the family business by piloting the plane himself, leading to the crash. His grandfather, feeling guilty about Jason's father's death, had kept the truth hidden all this time. Just as Jason was still immersed in denial and sorrow, danger crept in silently. Local criminals captured him, intending to use him as a hostage for ransom. They kept him locked up for a month, during which time his beard grew long, and he saw no sign of the ransom. It wasn't until Christmas Day, when all the criminals in the camp got drunk, and the door to the room where Jason was being held wasn't properly locked. Seizing the opportunity, Jason grabbed his guide and without hesitation, without looking back, they ran. Through the wilderness and forests, they found life and freedom again. In that moment, he realized that being alive was more important than anything else. Jason's first act upon returning to the United States was to immediately visit his friend Emily. However, Emily's condition was already grim, yet she remained spirited. She complained about Jason's long absence and the unfulfilled promise of spending Christmas together. Now, she demanded that Jason make it up to her by celebrating a belated Christmas. Jason promptly called his lawyer, determined to put a pause on the tests. He planned to take Emily and her mother to Gus's farm for Christmas. They boarded a plane and headed towards Gus's farm, where they found Christmas decorations already set up by Gus. To surprise the girl, Gus had even arranged for artificial snow at great expense. He then had his wife illuminate the scene, a magical setting serving as Emily's Christmas gift. Emily slowly stepped onto the snowfield built just for her, unable to believe this was all for her. The next day, Jason received the final test to pursue his dreams. After years of aimlessness, Jason had no dreams to speak of, so he asked Emily about hers. After some thought, Emily said, "My dream was a perfect day, and I'm just finishing it. My dream was to be with people I love." Upon returning to the United States, Jason met with his lawyer, expressing his lack of personal dreams but his desire to fulfill Emily's wish and help children like her. The lawyer declared that Jason had completed the tests and handed him $1 billion. With the money in hand, Jason prepared to establish the Emily Foundation to help sick children. However, just as the plans were about to launch, news of Emily's passing arrived. Jason and Emily's mother rushed to the hospital, but it was too late. Emily had passed away. Emily had become a star now, shining in the sky, though her light was small, illuminating everyone. Emily's foundation was officially founded after her death, assisting numerous sick children. Shortly after, the lawyer found Jason again, explaining that the proper use of the $1 billion was the final test, and Jason had aced it. The super gift belonged to him now, a $20 billion asset. Jason's first act with the asset was to hire the lawyer to work for him, ready to use the money to help more people. Was the ultimate gift truly the $20 billion asset, or was it just a part of it? During the tests, Jason learned the value of hard work, the preciousness of friendship, family, and love, as well as the significance of money and life. These were the most valuable gifts he received through the journey. The movie, The Ultimate Gift, can be watched for free on Tubi now.